This is part 2 of my conversation with Alisa France. I love the way you conceptualize things. We've had all kinds of really great conversations. And one particular conversation, well, we bring it up quite a bit,
Right.
is this idea of the box and the balloon. You know they were coming up. You know they're coming.
And I was waiting.
Could you talk to our family about what does it mean when you're talking about this thinking from the box and the balloon?
So I want y'all to know first and foremost that is attributed to Alisa France. I am setting
Copyright.
my intellectual property.
Trademark.
Don't worry, the full write-up is coming because it is a concept that is like maybe 3 years in the running now. So 2 years in the running. So I had a coaching session through a fellowship that I was doing. And I had been feeling like this, and I was talking through it with the coach. And I was letting her know that I've been feeling this duality of a balloon and a box where I was in my role at the organization at that time. And the balloon was a feeling of wanting to grow, wanting to expand, wanting to do more, wanting to feel light in the work that I was doing. And I guess just a sense of freedom as well. So it was definitely, the feeling was there. The words came later. So I was feeling like this balloon sentiment, but then the box, I thought at the moment when I first brought it up was the actual position. Like I thought I was being stifled around, or within this role that I could not do the things that I actually really wanted to do because I was in this role. And that was the box. But as we had the conversation, she asked me if the box was really a feeling also and a sentiment and a voice that was really doing the stifling and the questioning and the limiting. And I sat back and I said, ooh, now that's feeling accurate. And we talked through it. What does the box say? If you gave this box a voice, what does the box say? So it's all of those, back of the mind, imposter syndrome kind of sentiments of, what are you doing? Now you know we can't. Now you know that is hard. Now, I see you have this little idea and whatnot, but are you really qualified? Are you ready? Right? So all of those limiting thoughts, all of those things that felt, that either I heard from other places that were manifesting in this voice of this box, or that it was just things that I was internalizing, all of that started to manifest into this idea of this box. And then, she had me do an exercise, which I love because I'm all into theater and the arts, of actually having a conversation and role playing with the box and the balloon. And so I sat in one chair and I was looking at myself as the balloon, saying those same things and saying it out loud, which is tough, right? What do you think you're doing? Did you really think that through? I'm afraid that, and those words were so important to settle into the idea that the box is really about fear. It's not about what's lacking. It's not about what's, not present within me to achieve or succeed. Is about the fear of what that looks like. And then I sat in the role of the balloon and I felt so light just having conversations of, that this is what we want. Would be so great. This is what we're manifesting, just being able to do this, being able to do that. And I feel like that just started, those conversations started an internal dialogue which we all have, so don't judge me. Internal
Our listeners
dialogue.
know all about our internal dialogue.
An internal dialogue that started to have the box and the balloon work together.
Mm-hmm.
That the box is not something that is an enemy. The box is there as a safety net. The box is there as a protection. The box is there as the part of us that wants to make sure that innately that we are safe.
That's right.
So that whatever the balloon is dreaming up, is manifesting, is growing into, is creating abundance around, can do so. And so that has been what I've been carrying, with how to use the box and the balloon as a checklist. So the box is my checklist. The box, and this is what we've been talking about, Dr. Kecia, the box is there to remind me of what I need to make sure is in place.
Mm-hmm.
And I acknowledge it and I say, you know what? You right there, but the other part is completely wrong. So just sit down somewhere. But I'm gonna take that one part because you're right, for real. You're right.
Right. Right.
And that allows the balloon to thrive. And so, being able to kind of recognize that we all have that duality. We all have that space that, we want to be protected. We want to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And either it's what we're seeing from the outside, what we're internalizing it, but acknowledging the voice rather than fighting it, pulling it in, making sure that it's a part of the process has been really, really influential.
Yeah. And I love how, and adding to our conversation around the box, mm-hmm. and how there's a connection in some ways to that voice, that inner critic, that imposter yes. syndrome, and all of that is feeding yes. through there. It's mm-hmm. like, but when you give it a job,
right,
and you yep. acknowledge the job is to keep you safe. And let's go yes. back to where we started our conversation. There's a reason why it's keeping you safe, is because these environments are not safe mm-hmm. for you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so that feeling of imposter syndrome kicks in and mm-hmm. saying, you don't belong here, because everything in the environment is telling you mm-hmm. unequivocally, you don't belong here. Mm-hmm. And so it's just tapping you on the shoulder like, yo, you don't belong here. These people are hateful as hell. Mm-hmm. Save yourself. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. But acknowledging, okay, so this voice is almost like that, bless its hearts, like this really negative executive assistant. Okay, give it a job, right?
Right.
It's coming through. Look, you're not ready for this. You haven't done this, and this. Okay, thank you for letting me know. All right, so
right.
Let me get to that.
Right.
Instead of saying, and just sitting with it and letting it paralyze you. Oh my God, right. I haven't done this, or this report.
We can't move on.
Or right. Here we go. I didn't print out the bio. Oh my God. Somebody else could have printed out that bio if they thought it was that damn important. But anyway, I'm saying.
I went and printed that bio. I walked in the meeting and I was like, here. It was about to start. I said, here you go. And it was because it was right at the start of the meeting. I didn't do it the day before, the morning of, or whatever his time it was. Anywho.
And so right. Let's talk about the importance of teaching organizations where we say, okay, so the day before, 2 days before, we inform the intern, normally what should happen right. is you want to make sure that the CEO has the document at least 2 to 3 days in advance, because teach
right
why it's important. We don't do right. that. We just allow assumptions mm-hmm. to teach new employees. That's
and also
another
not even saying that, because that wasn't the first event that I had to do. That was the only time that it was significantly late.
Okay.
So instead of it being, so let's talk about what you had to do this morning, because clearly you were running a whole other event. How could we have supported you in making sure that this was done? Because it has never been late before, or even if it has, you know, let's set the norm moving forward that this is what is going to be. And if you have something else going on, let's talk about how we can shift what you need to do, or how I can maybe help you get it done, whatever that was. But it kind of felt like it was a no.
Yeah.
She got to do it. Don't nobody else help her. She got to do it.
She has to figure it out. And it's like,
she got to do it. It's just like, but you got me hosting a whole bunch of high school students, and that's actually a way bigger impact than you have an article about somebody that you already know and you about to go talk to.
Right.
But anyway,
given the larger context of the organization, it's not just all about you. Just put that in there. And not hating, but this is one of the things that you and I have had conversations about is job socialization failure. This assumption that people are supposed to come in and hit the ground running, knowing in a brand new organization that they've never engaged in.
Yep.
And they're supposed to just come in and know exactly what to do with absolutely no information. And I always say that that's the lazy supervisor's way. Well, we need somebody who go and hit the ground running. Come on in here and do what needs to be done. Well, are you going to tell that person that there's a wall right in front of them as they're hitting them like a cartoon? Like, bam.
Right.
You know,
and you know that wall is there.
And you know, everybody else in the organization has seen the wall because they've been here for years. And here's this person. They've been here maybe 3 months and you're expecting them to just come in and know. No. Allow the learning to happen. And there is so many organizations, we don't do that.
Yep.
We walk our new employees or not even just new. You could be in the organization for a good chunk of time and then move into a new role. And there's still that assumption, well, they'll figure it out. No, damn it. If you want them to be successful, how about you set them up for success versus setting them up for failure? How about that? How about that, Fred? How about that? Right?
Fred is making a comeback.
Fred the horse. Fred is going to show up in damn near every episode. It's going to be like, where's Waldo? There's Fred.
Right. There's Fred.
But you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yes. Yep.
And that's why you're seeing so many Black women. I mean, beyond that, I mean, there's just so many reasons why Black women are saying, you know what, we're building our own. You can keep that over there. And creating these spaces that are more nurturing so we can thrive. And I'm not saying that, go back to what you said, you know, what you said, now all skin folk or kin folk, we know that. You know, and there's times for that. Because I want to own, you know, some of us fall into the sunken place sometime, especially when we are in these organizations and you got to play the role and you got to do all this stuff.
And it's very easy.
Yeah. You're like, okay, so do I help this person? Do I not? Do I run? Do I just go hide? Well, right. But then being able to say, okay, now that I can support the upliftment, if that's a word, that's a thing. That's a thing. The betterment. I know that's a word. Damn it. Our next generation leaders. What do I have to offer? In the way of all the learning that I've experienced and some of the things that I've seen. And so you're already doing that, but I'd love to hear a little bit more. And I want to hear from two of y'all.
Okay.
Like, what are you doing? So one, I'd love to hear some advice from you for our next generation leaders from the balloon.
Okay.
And then I'd love to hear some advice for our next generation leaders from the box.
Okay. So as soon as you said that, something came to mind. So I want to give that anecdote because I feel like it fits into, it shows the elements of both, but I will answer the question as far as the advice from both. So one thing that I learned, especially is, you know, I grew in my management and, you know, essentially number one, learning that management is just coaching in a different way because you're in an organization, you're supporting folks. So seeing management as coaching was a huge change for me. Not just saying, okay, I'm here to have people do the job that they're here to do. No, I'm here to cultivate leaders who are under me, who are part of my team, and giving them the tools to be able to lead and show up in a way that's authentic so then they can do their job successfully. Those are two very different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one thing that I had to learn, and this was coming from the place of the box, I thought that everyone on my team had to operate like I did. That if you do not operate in the way that I operate, or specifically for one of my team members who shares my identity, if you aren't, you know, the outspoken, person who's utilizing their voice, who's standing up, who's at the forefront and all of that stuff, if you aren't showing up in that way, you will fall victim to, having stuff placed on you.
Mm.
And so I thought from that place of protection that, okay, I have to put this person in spaces and open opportunities for them to have to show up, for them to have to use their voice, for, pretty much kind of forcing their hand to be a certain way. And then I shifted and realized that for us all to be free in this space, whatever that means, thinking through the balloon, that everyone does not have to show up in the same way, because all styles of being, all ways of being should be accepted within the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
The workplace values folks who are outspoken, who are naturally charismatic, who have, bubbly personalities and things like that. That's what the workplace values. So anyone who's the antithesis to that is deemed all kinds of things, standoffish, this, not really knowing, not enthusiastic, not wanting to be a part of the team, blah, 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 all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn and shift and understand that there's a time and space for everyone. Everyone grows on their own. Everyone learns on their own. Everyone should be afforded the space that they need to come into their own in their workplace, in their role, whatever that means. And so when I stopped holding this sentiment of, I need you to be better for us, I started to see that person in a different way. And I started to recognize more of that person's strength. I started to value that person's strengths. And I changed my way of being and stepped back to allow authentic space for that person, for all the members of my team, right? To see them, like I was saying earlier, in these sessions and how I operate with folks that I'm working with, not taking anything for granted and not assuming anything. Taking my assumptions out, removing what, I thought was best, and sticking with what's fact and what I know is important for that person and what they've already been telling me, as far as challenges that they're having, all of those things, being able to talk through that with them just created a whole different vibe. And so when I think about the next generation of leaders, the balloon advice, the box advice, let's start there. The box advice would be to understand what it is that you value in your way of being and hold that close and protect that for yourself because that's who you authentically are. And that protection may not be what fits in an organization or in a role. So as you think about what's close to you, as you think about your way of being, that doesn't mean that you can't be malleable to growing. You can be open to growing. You can be open to understanding how you can preserve your way of being, but still learn and grow as a professional. Because we all start a certain way, and we learn and we make mistakes and we change. But preserving that sense of self and holding that near is what is going to allow you to thrive. Now, the balloon, for me, I feel like the balloon and what I want to impart for the younger generation is to know that whatever your experience is in the moment that you're experiencing it, that something else is coming. And so if that means that, you know, you're advocating, if that means that you are using your voice, if that means that you are being the person that is stepping up, that's, you know, being charismatic and all that stuff, that is fine. And using that advice, you know what, let me pause because something else is coming to mind. I feel like that's part of it. That's not exactly what I want to say. So let me pause there. But I think it really is about what it means to be in a space. And that's what I'm trying to like kind of figure out what I want to impart. So let me pause there and I'm gonna internalize that.
Okay. It's okay to pause and reflect.
Yeah. Let me pause.
But I want to ask you this question though, because something that I heard when you were talking about charisma, and prior to that, talking about authentic spaces, was charisma and courage. And so I want to ask the big question, and maybe that'll move you into whatever is percolating here, is what words or forms of poetry, whatever it may be, has helped you to move towards living your courage out loud, living your poetry out loud, however you choose to define it.
My favorite quote, and I use this in any moment of transition, especially when we have our graduation ceremony. I've been using it for like the past 3 years. It's James Baldwin. It's from I Am Not Your Negro. And when I heard this, I was like floored because I watched the movie first and then I bought the book. He writes, I am saying that a journey is called that because you cannot know what you will discover on the journey, what you will do with what you find, or what you find will do to you.
You know, I'm going to ask you to read that again. One more time.
Yes. I am saying that a journey is called that because you cannot know what you will discover on the journey, what you will do with what you find, or what you find will do to you. And it's really that last part. Because I think when he talks about a journey in a way that's just like, we think of journeys as we're moving through things, we're moving through the next phase. It feels like a natural progression. And we pick things up, right? From a child, you start going to school, you start picking things up, good and bad. Right? But then you have these things that impact you so much that you didn't even think that you would find, and it sticks with you. And, you know, when I think about like what that means in my journey, professional and personal, There have been so many moments, so many beautiful moments, traumatic moments, things that have taught me about life that I never expected would happen, but it has shaped who I am. It could be a book, it could be, you know, a poem, it could be a speaker, it could be a coach, it could be a friend, it could be whatever it is. But as we're going through the journey of life, you discover things, you figure out what you'll do with it, or you figure out what it has done to you. And that, I think, is the most beautiful part of being on a journey. And, you know, a journey is a specific thing, right? It's not just you know, going from one place to another, but it's travel. You know, you travel through time, you travel through spaces physically, and, you know, you just navigate so many beautiful things. And I think that has been the way that I see how my day to day kind of shapes and what I want that to look like. Right. I didn't know that entrepreneurship and coaching and counseling and, you know, consulting would be a part of my journey. But in the many things that I've been able to pick up, that I've been able to acquire, the spaces that I've been in, the people that I've connected to, that is something that has done to me more than what I could ever imagine, right? Especially this spirit of entrepreneurship, especially the spirit of generational wealth, especially getting married in a year. All of those things are just like, wow, you know, you just never know what you'll discover. You never know what you'll do with what you find, or what you find will do to you.
Mm-hmm. And what you'll create.
And what you'll create. Yes.
Because you've created, I mean, not just creating these spaces or sacred spaces, right. You've created opportunities, you've created escape rooms, you've created games, you've created so much on this journey.
Right. Right.
And there's more to come.
Right. Right.
Alisa, what helps you stay grounded? That's one of the things that, you know, when we have our conversations, it's like even when you're having a day, and you've had maybe one or two.
I've had a few. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a way about you that you seem to come back. How do you go about finding or creating your own sacred space for yourself to come back from some of the things that you've experienced?
As soon as you said that, Diana Ross, these are a few of my favorite things that played in my mind.
But of course,
because it's so true, right? I'm a creature of habit, and there are things that bring me joy, whether that is an album, that's a song, a movie, a TV show. I ground myself in what I know brings me joy. Family, food, whatever that looks like. I nap. I love a good nap.
Oh, have you heard the song on Instagram?
Blessed be the name of our Lord and Savior.
Praise him. Go on, take that nap.
Oh, if there were ever a more perfect song to like depict just who I was and still am, the queen of naps, rest, and sleep. Because, and we talked about this last week, just how rest has been a part of my experience these past few weeks. And it's been necessary. You know, we rip and we run all day long, some of us. And, you know, sometimes we just like the stigma that rest and pause and sitting still has is going to drive us to the ground. And we are already a people of high anxiety of moving and shaking and making waves out of no waves, because that is how we have been taught to survive.
Back to survival, right?
And what I love,
add it into the hustle culture that we're in
grustle,
now. Hustle, grustle, grind.
Yep. Yep. Because at the top of the pandemic, where everyone's like, if you don't come out of this pandemic with a skill, you did nothing. It's just like,
if I come out of this pandemic, how about that?
Alive, right? With my sanity.
Oh my God!
Listen, the many conversations that I've had with, friends and people who have just been like, listen, it is important to recognize when you need to slow down. It is no longer about being booked and busy. It is about being rested and fulfilled. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but those two words are for me: rested and fulfilled. Because booked and busy just feels like the grind that Keith and I are doing. Keith's my fiance. The grind that we are doing right now is so that we have the freedom to up and go when we want to and put our toes in somebody's sand.
Oh.
We do not want to have to be tied to one place, one thing, one job. If we can automate it, we'll automate it. If I need to just tell clients that I'm going to be back in 2 weeks, or I can take you virtually, whatever that looks like, that is the choice. That is the freedom of choice. That is the experience, the lifestyle that we deserve. I pray, I hope, I wish, I pray, I want, I manifest for Black folks that we are now in the space of thriving, whatever that looks like. And Nikole Hannah-Jones, bring it back. We just need to dedicate this.
Circle.
She showed us today in the most, I don't even want to call it simple, but in the most minute, it wasn't even minute. I don't even know the word that I'm looking for, but
it's
just
non-complex, just
direct,
clear,
and what
purposeful, powerful. Girl, I'm about to start preaching.
Centered, like aligned, like in that way. Said, I am choosing to thrive, because she could have very easily said, she could have chosen that and saw that as a victory, but it was not. And as we talked about the box, I would love to think that her box said to her, what does safety look like for us?
Ooh, okay. All right. That's a question.
What does safety look like for us? And how are we categorizing our safety? Because I'm also seeing people, and I'm loving that they're calling it out. It is not the biggest flex that you thought, Black folks, to have your child to be in, your child or you, whoever, to be in a white institution as you thought it was.
Whoa.
It is not that big of a flex.
No, if you knew what you know now.
Right. Because what her box said, we need to talk, because her balloon is saying we deserve better. Yes. And her box said, you deserve better. And let me tell you, this ain't it. So it's that communication.
That's the communication and the alignment. It's the alignment. When the two are together, like,
Yep.
This is not where we're going to end up.
And the fact that it took them to the last day to say, yeah, we want you, or whatever.
It's that level of petty. It's that level of petty. It's like, okay, well, you can come. Don't bring nobody else, though.
Right.
And it's like,
you made a big stink about it. So
but wait. Exactly. I guess we have to. But wait. We're not talking about the planning. She knew this was happening. She knew that she was going to get the yes. And so she's like, okay, so hold your yes. I got something for you and your yes.
And your yes.
You and your yes can watch this. And so, so there's part of me that wants to co-opt your balloon in your box, because I want to say that the balloon was like, yeah, we're going to do more than thrive. So we're about to step this up to excelling level. Right? Because they wanted us to pretend like they were going to create a space. And that's the other thing.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. You know, we thought about it and she's absolutely right in all of this. And it's like, no, after protest, after lawyers, after this is not a space where if this was a thriving space, none of this would have happened.
Why settle?
And so now I'm going to grab my excellence and I'm about to grab the homie and
put it in my box.
And we're headed out of here. So you can keep your assumptions. You can keep your tenure. And please, oh, please, keep your yes.
Keep your yes. Because if your yes comes with conditionals and caveats and attitude and all types of stuff, please keep it.
And the need for me to have to survive all of that.
To survive it. And constantly, and then there's going back to the question of what does safety look like, because then there is the mental and emotional gymnastics that go into having to be in a space where you are consistently wondering, who am I going to show up as today?
Oh,
how do I need to show up today? What am I going to leave in this space that I could keep to take to another space and be able to do so much more? Because it's like that currency, right? We have this energetic currency that we are consistently depleting in certain spaces because it requires more of us. It requires more mental energy. It requires more physical energy. It requires more emotional energy to be in a space. And then again, going back to the flex, is it that serious? Is it that much of a flex to be in this institution? To be in this space because it's what?
Right.
Highly regarded. That's code word. That's code language. Highly regarded. Code language. Because it's historic. Code language. Whose history? Code language.
Right.
Like all of those things. So what does safety look like? How am I showing up? What will it take for me to show up? What energetic currency am I utilizing to be in this space? If it isn't adding to it, even if I'm giving it out, if it's not bringing it back tenfold, why? Why?
Or is it let us see, add to me? Is this an ad?
Is this an ad?
Are you an ad organization? Are you an ad to me? And that's
exactly
the other question that you just asked. And it's just resonating with me is, whose flex is it actually?
Right.
Is it your flex, organization X, to have me, or is it my flex to have you?
To have you.
I don't think it's the latter. I think that if you knew what I know, to quote old Kanye, not new Kanye.
Well, new Kanye might be coming back.
No, I understand.
I hope he's not answer.
No, because I understand the sunken place, and then when you go crazy, but you can come back, Kanye. I'm proof. I'm proof of it, right? But old Kanye said you should be honored by my lateness. That I'd even show up to this fake shit, and right, and the fact that she showed up and showed out and showed her scholarship, and so many of us do that under circumstances that are far worse. Far worse.
Listen, right? The Papa Pope, that's a scandal.
Oh, you
have to be
that.
You have to be what? You have to be what?
Twice.
What?
Twice as good.
Twice as good as them to get half of what they have.
As far, half is acknowledged, half is all of those things. The fact, the fact that Nikole Hannah-Jones, the decorated journalist that she is, had to go through all of this just to get a yes that has never been denied to anyone else
Ever.
is the story of our lives.
Since what, the 80s? No, not
twice as much, twice as good, twice as great, twice as excellent. Listen, because Papa Pope showed her. He was like, "You have to. I told you." And you sitting here gallivanting around with these people. You gathered her together, gathered everyone who was sitting there watching that. But it just, and I think all of this segment right here, young professionals, all of what was just talked about is exactly what that balloon and that box are. But and not that they have to be at odds, but they have to be in alignment. And the alignment is, what does safety look like for us? What does safety look like? How much whose flex is it, right? That's the box. For you to be excellent is the balloon, not just thrive. Thriving, if you had to have a bare minimum, thriving is now the bare minimum. Everything else above thriving. We're no longer just, thriving is the expectation.
Yes.
Thriving is the expectation. That is your non-negotiable.
Right.
Non-negotiable.
That's where we start.
That is where we start.
If I have to survive you, whether it's an organization, whether it's a relationship, if I have to survive you, you are not it.
You are not it. And you are out of alignment. You are out of alignment.
What you just said, it reminded me of one of my graduate students who is doing some work on thriving, or I think it's actually beyond thriving for Black, queer, and trans students, and thinking about, and he's the one that helped me. We were searching for one of the frameworks, a model of, okay, so what does it look like? So there's crisis all the way to excelling. And we sat with that thriving one, and it was bothering us, and we couldn't figure. It wasn't that we couldn't figure out why, but it's like, that just seems like their version of thriving seems like the bare minimum.
Bare minimum.
Where we want to live is in this space of excelling.
We want to live in abundance. We want to live in manifestation of luxury, whatever that looks like. We want to be upper echelon.
Health and well-being all the way through, spiritual, financial, you name it.
Everything. Upper echelon, penthouse of life, top floor.
You better.
Is what we want. I coined that from someone on Instagram. But she talks about top floor. So top floor. Not just getting in the building.
Right. No, wait a minute. Hold on. No. Not just getting in the building. When you get in the building, you get harassed for coming in the building, talking about, do you belong here? I mean, don't you see my key?
Let me tell you something. I got a card. I don't even have a key. I have a card that you have to put into the elevator, and only I can access it. Don't play with me.
But you're still asking questions even when you see I have the exact same card as yours.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And even though that is your existence, that is not going to stop me from going beyond thriving.
Yep.
I'm probably going to get you arrested. But
listen, sometimes I often ask myself, and maybe the family can help me, figure out how to do this, but I often ask myself, put in the position of a white person, I always envision a white woman who is asking me questions and minding my business. And
what am I sure say? I got my mind on my business and my business on my mind. I'm not, but you're not my business. I'm not thinking about you.
Stop this. How do people walk away? Because I feel like my hands will speak for themselves. I don't know if I can be a proper spokesperson for my hands.
Where are you from, Alisa? Where are you from?
Sir, I'm from Jersey. Let me tell you something. And I don't get there because I don't ever want to, because I don't like anger. It's a necessary emotion, but not for me. Like, I would rather not. Mm-hmm. But how do y'all do it? Like, I watch the videos and you're recording and all this stuff. I'm just like, I don't know if there would be time for a video.
Did you say there wouldn't be time?
I just feel like the way my ancestors would show
like
up.
We don't have time for all this.
We don't have time for the back and forth.
This is an interference.
She should know she's wrong. This is it just, so, however folks deal with, like, this is support group. Because when I saw there was a video of the Amazon, I think she was at Amazon. She was delivering packages for Amazon, and the woman was like accusing her of stealing packages, and she mollywopped her ass. I was just like, I don't see the problem.
Right.
I particularly don't see the problem here, but we all have our things. And is it Langston Hughes, the Negro, meek and mild, when they get angry, whatever his quote is, if we talk about that, it's just like, you better be thankful that we are meek and mild, because we know that we'll get shot in the street if we ever were to exude anything other than grace and deference and all of the things that tell us to turn the other cheek. I mean, the Bible, of course. But,
Right. And of course, as you're saying that, for whatever reason, maybe because we talked about Oprah, I had the clip from The Color Purple when she played Miss Sophia, and the white woman talking. Would you like to be my maid?
You children are so clean. Would you like to work for me? Be my maid? Hell no. What did you say? Hell no. What did she say?
Gail, what did you say to Miss Millie?
I said hell.
Oh, Miss Sophia. No, Miss Sophia, no!
Because Miss Sophia home. Let me tell you something. No.
And that hand, and I come from a family with that quick hand. Mm-hmm. I've watched my mother and her quick hand. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And so it's that thought, right? And we have to be able, and that's going back to the mental gymnastics. It's, I have to hold on to everything I have, because my instinct, let my hand
certified
handle the situation. Quite literally, let me handle the situation.
I just want to learn from the people.
But we learned it today.
We did.
Because what did Nikole do?
No. She said.
And she sat there with the poise. And we always watch facial expressions, right?
Mm-hmm. We sure do. We sure do. But she said, I'm just not going to be there. It was like, Gail was like, so what did you decide to do? I'm not going to be there. Well, let's unpack that. I'm not going to be there. Gail, I don't know what else you tell Gail.
Did you see her when she was about to ask her the question? Like, let me just get in position, because this is about to get good.
She was like, she was like, okay, so we got that out. So let's make sure the people heard you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? I'm not going to be there.
just like, in case. Woo. And they're hearing it now. Let them work with it.
Hearing it now. She's like, nope. I don't even have to tell you directly. I'll go on the morning show and I'll let everybody know.
I'll let Oprah's best friend tell y'all.
And I'm not going to write it. I'm going to say it. Ooh, the fact she said the words. The power of voice, your throat chakra said the words no. Like I mean, as everyone will probably figure out, I'm leaving my current position, and I was holding on to the sentiment. I'm saying it to other people, right? To hold myself accountable, to say I am leaving my job at this time. But it was when I said it to my supervisor where I was just like, and I have decided to also make my transition and resign. That was the most boss, grown-up words that I have ever said in my life.